You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, PJ team leader, jiu-jitsu lover, meme enthusiast, and dad joke aficionado, Aaron Love.
What's up, everybody? This early morning podcast recording brought to you by Ones Ready. Welcome back to the team room. We got a special one for you this week. We're literally going to just pack this episode full of as many questions that you ask us on the daily as we possibly can. Is it because we want you to get the right answer? Yes. Is it also because we want you to stop asking these questions because we have already answered them multiple times?
Yes.
Maybe also yes, but that's a definite yes from Trent. So welcome to the team room, everybody. We just want to say thanks again. It's Trent and I obviously here. Peaches is on the road. Brian is doing his PA thing. We just want to say thanks from our team to everybody out there that supports. We appreciate you for liking, following the podcast. Keep leaving your comments. Keep fighting in the comments or making friends in the comments. We don't care as long as you guys are having a good time. If you get on the internet to fight in the comments, hey, more power to you. Have a good one. Check out the shop. We got all kinds of sweet merch. I'm wearing my sweet regret is hell tee. My favorite part is it says just regret is hell right here on the sleeve. That's fire.
Dude, we got to get one of those to Colonel Black.
I know we really do. We have to get one of her. You know what the funny thing about our merch is that my favorite merch tee is not like my own branded stuff. It's Trent stuff. If that says anything about our level of bromance, there you go. If you guys think we fight over hair, no, we just share like hair care topics and talk to one another. So go to the Instagram, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. Help us out. Leave us a review on anything that you listen on, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. It really does help us out. So we appreciate it. All that out of the way. Trent, you and I have been waiting a long time for this one. I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. Usually we entertain, and usually we're pretty inviting into the team room, right? And we take more of a coach and a mentor sort of stance, right? I gotta be honest, this episode's probably not going to be this. We're going to get you the right information, but we need to have some real talk with y'all because y'all are asking us the same question, and we gotta nip this in the bud, as it were.
It's time for a little bit of angry Gramps, you know?
Some angry Gramps. So basically what we're going to do and go to the YouTube. So when you hear this, go to the YouTube and check it out. What we're going to do is we're going to put chapter markers. And if we can figure out how to do it on podcast, we'll do the same thing. We're going to put chapter markers with every single one of these questions. And we are going to have explicit answers to each one of your questions. And then we'll probably have some angry motivation for you at the end of that too. So go check out the YouTube, check out the chapter markers. And if you have any of these questions, just go scroll through the YouTube comments and go, hey, wait a second. This guy answered my question. So with no further ado, Trent, when you're in the AFSPECWAR enterprise, let's say you get all the way through the pipeline and you get to your first unit, what's the day-to-day like, Trent?
Well, I don't know. I wake up, I get my iced or hot coffee, depending on the time of year, and I have a very set schedule. And no one knows. You know, you work out when you can, when you're actually there. But there's a myriad of TDYs and training and professional military education things that you have to knock out. So there's about 800 million things that you got to do every day, and you do your best to get them all done.
Yeah. And this is such a hard question to answer, guys. And this one frustrates us because you want some sort of like checklist. Listen, do we have a training cycle where you have a deliberate training period where you're actually training on certain things? Absolutely. We train individual skills. And then we train our joint collective skills. And then we work all the way up to really big muscle movements, getting ready for whatever tasking we have on a 20-month cycle. Like, I'll tell you straight up, that's what you do. How that actually looks day to day, I have no clue. I was in the office the other day. I got in there at 7. I had admin work that I needed to do. So I did that until about 9. I worked out in our own gym from like 9:30 until 11 or something. And then I got done. And one of the teams asked me to come and give my input on how they were going about mission planning for one of their upcoming full mission profiles. Well, those guys the team leaders were there at about noon, but their guys didn't even show up until 1400, and they were working until like well after dark, right? That's about as normal of a day as you're going to get, unless you're working some staff position, unless you're at some weird job where you have bank hours. We have no clue. We have no way to tell you And that's why we're always so vague, not vague, but, we just say, hey, when you get to your unit, you're going to train for your next deployment, stuff pops up. Somebody's going to come into your office or into your workspace one day and go, hey, do you realize that you have to go to this professional military education school? You're going next week. And then all of a sudden, the next 6 weeks of your time is spoken for, and you didn't know going in that day.
Yeah, but what if I don't want to go?
But what if I don't want to go? There's never a good time for PME. There's never a good time to come off team. There's never a good time to do anything you don't want. We get it. But you have to do those things. You're not going to get out of it. Everybody has to go to PME. You don't want to go to PME? Okay. Then get out of the career field, because the Air Force won't let you stay in. So
Jeez,
bro.
Yeah,
I know. Like,
going hard.
I am going hard. Let's go.
There's so many entities that get a vote on what you do every day. There's your squadron, there's the Air Force, there's the geopolitical landscape of the world.
Right.
There's a lot of people that get a vote in what you do. And, weekends and nights are not necessarily off limits. They're definitely not off limits. So
right, exactly. We probably should have ordered this better, but you and I are just a dog chasing cars, because we could do it in like chronological order. So I'll just start that now. Let's start that now. How do I get a hold of a recruiter? I've been calling and calling and calling, and no one is calling me back.
Okay, so when we get this question and it's on Instagram, I like short circuit a little bit, because I don't know how many special warfare recruiters you see on Instagram, but I see a ton of them.
Right. I don't know. Look at our page. Look at the people that we follow. I don't know. 40 special operations recruiters. Maybe,
so many.
I mean, guys and gals with huge programs. I can think of 10 special operations recruiters right now. And that's not to include like their Instagram pages for the recruiting squadrons. That's not to include www.airforce.com. If you go there, you can, no kidding, put in your zip code, and then you can find a recruiter. A secondary question to this is, hey, I've been calling this recruiter and I've been emailing them and they just haven't called me back. And then we ask, okay, well, how long's it been? Well, it's been a week. Okay, my dude. So let's talk about what the recruiter does. The recruiter, while they may be a special operations recruiter, they're still an Air Force recruiter. So they have a massive area, in some cases, multi-state area, or a huge geographic portion for all AFSCs in the Air Force. And you email them saying, I think I might want to try this thing. What do I need to do? Just put yourself in their shoes for a second. You have 100 other candidates that are already in the DEP program, and you get one email from one person that's like, I've done nothing yet. Please give me some of your time. What would you do?
Well, it sounds like you're going to have to wait for some time.
It sounds like you're going to have to be patient and make the most out of your time. Now, if it's gone, weeks without a follow, and we have had people hit us up on the DM and be like, hey, of course we got people that we can send you directly to. Of course we have people that, we can hit up and help you out, but you have to fix your own problems first. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is we're going to help you fix your own problems first, because that's important for special operations.
Yeah. Well, so we get a lot of questions without any background. Like you said, I've been trying to get a hold of this recruiter and I haven't heard anything. How long? Which recruiter? How many recruiters have you reached out to? Mm-hmm. And have you Googled it? Have you gone to the website? Have you checked on Instagram and Twitter and all these other places that y'all are reaching out to us on to fix your problem first? And if you haven't done all of those things, my initial reaction is, you can go pound sand and try a little bit harder.
Right. And the other one that we see here is the question about Guard and Reserve. So people often ask us, hey, I want to go work for this specific Guard and Reserve unit. They all have their own recruiters. You can call them. They're usually listed on their website. If you Google whichever, let's say you're trying to go to the Kentucky STS, you can Google Kentucky STS and you can find your way there. I promise. Because I've done it before. Somebody asked me, hey, how do I get there? I, no kidding, called the number to see if it was a recruiter that actually worked, and then name dropped a bunch of dudes that work there. And they were like, oh yeah, this is totally our number. It's our personal cell number. Really wasn't hard to find. Pretty simple.
What is this Google machine that you speak of? It sounds incredibly convenient.
Now, this is just going to be for life, right? So I always try to answer my own questions first before I just shout a message at somebody. Like before I open my window, like, hey, does anybody know how to help me? Usually I try to fix my own problems first. And the first place I go, oddly enough, is a search engine. Now, if you don't like the fact that Google logs your search engine and will adjust their algorithm for whatever reason, feel free to use DuckDuckGo. That's a different search engine that you can use. You can use it through a VPN if you want to protect your online identity and what it is that you're putting out in the world. Perfect. But you should search it first, because I guarantee that if the answer, it might be old information, but it gives you a place to start.
Should we stop saying Google and just start saying DuckDuckGo? Because I think
DuckDuckGo.
all the hosts of this podcast probably use DuckDuckGo.
I was going to say, yeah, conspiracy theorist Aaron, 100%. I do not use Google. I use DuckDuckGo. Quite frankly, hilarious. So after we contact a recruiter, right, the next one that we typically get is how does the pipeline flow? Trent, there's nobody better for you. Can you just kind of tell, and here we'll cage it a little bit, because all that we really need to talk about for this specific stuff. How does the pipeline flow once you hit basic training?
Well, you're going to go to basic training.
We're just going to go, let's go basic training, and then we'll go, let's say everything at JBSA until they're ready to PCS.
Then you're going to go to the prep or the candidate course for 7 weeks. And then you're going to go to ANS. And then everything after that, you have spent enough time on JBSA Lackland and in the dorms at that point to know everything about the rest of the pipeline. Now, there's going to be some bad information that you're going to get from some of the people there. But the flow is going to be laid out for you and scheduled and all of this stuff. So ANS, then pre-dive and dive. And then after that, it gets a little, between SEER and airborne and all that stuff, it gets a little weird. But
and let's explain why. So these things are all moving pieces. We have to talk to the Army about going to airborne. Although we own the Air Force dive program, there's still a waiting list. Other people go to these Air Force dive programs. We had sister service in my class.
Nice.
So it's still a dive school. It's still open to all services. So we have to talk to them. We have to talk to the Army about free fall school. We have to talk to a completely separate entity about paramedic school. We have to talk to a completely separate entity about every other school. SEER services the entire Air Force writ large, right? So basically what the pipeline managers, the people that work at San Antonio, have to do is they have to take, how many students are sitting at JBSA right now? Is it something like 200 to 500 or something?
It's a fair number. I don't want to put actual numbers out there.
Okay, got it. So it's a lot of students, and they have to manage, they have to move these pieces around this massive board in order to get you go there. So again, we can't give you a black and white. We can say generally it goes like this: basic, special warfare candidate course, ANS, you get selected, pre-dive, you get done. After pre-dive, hopefully you go right to dive school, because that's when you're best prepared for those water competence events. You graduate dive school, you can go to airborne school, and then SEER school. If you're a pararescueman, you're going to go, if you're in the pararescue track, you're going to go through your paramedic, and then you're done at Lackland. And you're going to spend all that time at Lackland. The controllers and the SR guys and the SWOs have a little bit different, where they're going to go to their specific schools. And Trent, you can talk to those specifically if you want to throw out some of the schools that they'll complete before it is that they PCS, especially for the controllers and the SR guys, because you know better than me. But generally, that's what it is. What order it happens in really does depend. Sometimes it just depends on school slots. Somebody hurts their ankle and they can't go to airborne this week. You might go to airborne before you go to dive school, because it's the most efficient way to do it. The reasoning behind this is we want to cut down on your time in between schools as much as humanly possible. That's always the goal. The one thing that is always really, really highly scrutinized is how much time students are out of training. We want you in training, completing the pipeline as quickly as possible. And Trent, hit the combat control and SR students if there's courses that they hit before they PCS.
Yeah, it's just the pre-dive, dive, airborne, SEER, and free fall. And then you're going to go to your apprentice course, which air traffic control, all of it's at Pope now. So air traffic control for the combat controllers and all the SR specific stuff. And then we get together and do our land nav and tactics and all that other FTX jazz, which is a lot of fun.
Right, exactly. So you're going to be at Joint Base San Antonio until then. So prepare accordingly. And that's what your pipeline is going to look like after you get out of ANS.
Can I just throw on this too? If I was married, because I get this a lot.
Okay.
I would plan on, if you really need to bring your spouse, I'd bring my spouse out to JBSA. If you are pararescue, SR, or CCT. And I really wouldn't plan on moving them again until I move past the apprentice course, just based on the way that those things are going.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't do a quick move up to Pope or out to Kirtland if I didn't have to. And I'm not sure those are PCSs right now. So get comfortable in San Antonio and then out to Hurlburt for the combat controllers and the SR folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a question we get to is, hey, what does the family situation look like? Again, this is going to be on you, and we're going to hit this later, but we have to make choices about our personal lives of what it is that we want to do as a career. Sacrifice is part of everything that we do. Okay. And we're going to hit it. There's some other things later that we're going to talk about that involve you needing to look at your life. Like you have to sacrifice. You're going to have to spend time away from your spouse. I think we get frustrated answering the family question because I can't put the feeling of, at this point, 20 years of missing first days of school, of missing huge events, missing deaths in my family that I couldn't go to funerals, missing weddings. My little brother Kyle got married and he was like, "Hey, I want you to be in the wedding." And I got deployed. I couldn't do anything for it. Right. I look back at all of those times and I hear people that are just starting their journey going, "Well, what am I going to do? My wife is my everything. I can't leave her for that long. So like, is there a way for us to get the family down there?" Listen, I feel for you, but we've all had to make that choice. Like, unfortunately, that's part of it. So maybe if I'm supposed to like make this as rosy as I possibly can, well, maybe this is a good first time for you to really, exercise those muscles of, distance and having to be away from your spouse and focusing on something that's more important at the time, as a couple. Maybe this is your first experience with that. Maybe it's good to start that in the pipeline.
Yep.
Yeah. Trent right now, he is single dadded up. You know why? Because his wife had to deploy and he had to step up, and now he's Mr. Mom.
The Air Force was like, "Yeah, this is more important," and I was like, "No,
it's not more important.
They don't listen to me. It's weird."
It is. It's straight up crazy. So we got that one. Let's go. How about, will I get out of shape in basic training?
Sounds like a personal problem.
Sounds like a personal problem. I don't know. Like, are you gonna go to Special Warfare Candidate course and then perform and get back into shape like you're supposed to? Because that's what that course is built to do. The 7-week curriculum at Special Warfare Candidate course is meant to do exactly that. Prepare you for assessment and selection. So even if you did lose a little bit of gains, maybe you can't see your abs as well. Maybe you don't do 75 push-ups, you do 73 push-ups. After you get out of that basic training, are you going to go and commit yourself to the preparatory course? Because it's meant to get you to succeed. So will I get out of shape in basic training? I don't know. Will you?
I have a real hard time with especially push-ups and sit-ups.
Okay.
You have a floor.
Right.
In your room. And we got pull-up bars over there at the BMT dorms where they live. If you don't get enough running or swimming, maybe it drops off a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you show up and you're like, "Oh, I lost a lot of my push-ups or my sit-ups," especially. You
didn't have them. You didn't have them before you were there.
That's a garbage excuse.
Absolutely. If you've been training, if you, no kidding, have been devoting yourself for this goal of being in these career fields to be a special operator for the rest of your life, and you lost all of those gains in 8 weeks, come on. What are we talking about? I don't know either. We get this one a lot too, and it's sort of the same thing. Will TACP go through A&S and have to do the water confidence stuff too? No.
Nope.
I just don't know a cleaner way to answer that. No, I don't know. As soon as we started talking about TACP swimming for the fitness test, that's where all this stuff sort of started.
Yeah. So when you go through the candidate course as a TACP candidate, the prep course, everybody does the same thing. That course is AFSC agnostic. Right. So if you show up and you're like, "Hey, I want to be a TACP," it's like, that's okay. But guess what? Cool. We're going to the pool today.
Right. But we're going to go to, and let's talk about the reasoning behind this, right? So for a long time, people would show up, and I can tell you this from 4 NDOT classes. I've been through 4. On every single one of those NDOT classes, and those were separated by 5 years, we had people showed up and had no idea what a combat controller did, had no idea what a PJ did, had no idea what a TACP did, no clue. They just didn't have the information available to them. They thought that it sounded cool. They got there and it was something completely different. And they were like, "Hey, go back and look at some of the podcasts where Peaches talks about this." Peaches showed up wanting to be a PJ because he didn't know what combat controllers did. He signed up for a guaranteed PJ contract. And when Peaches got to basic, he was like, "Whoa, there's this thing called combat control. That is tight. I want to do that." right? We have fixed that problem. So when you go to A&S, the TACPs are included in everything because, again, it's AFSC agnostic. Or I'm sorry, not A&S, to the Special Warfare candidate course, the prep course, right? So in preparation, everybody is the same because if you get there, if you're like, I wanted to be a TACP, well, if you get there and you connect with the PJ mission and then you have a talent for being in the water, that might change your entire life. You might get into a situation that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, and we see it. People get that training switch flipped, or they connect with an instructor, just like you're saying. So it's pretty common. So and don't think that you have all the information to make decisions before you even get there. So let the process work itself out, and we'll fix it when we get there. So while Aaron has stepped away, I think
I'm back. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty. I had an alarm going off, but no big deal. We're just gonna keep rolling straight through
it. 5 a.m. where you are. So,
dude, I know. Listen, I can't talk about me being a smart person because I'm not. I assume that you did a great answer on why it is that we put everybody through the same stuff.
I just repeated what you said. That's fine.
What's the next one?
We're gonna do I was just gonna stick with TACPs.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting question. How are TACPs used in the conventional force?
Yeah, so we covered this one with JC Roomba, right? He actually did a great job of talking exactly what conventional TACP is and how they're used in the conventional force. And the reason that I included this is I want to put it out there again. If you're coming in to be a TACP, the likelihood of you being a soft TACP is infinitesimally small. It is extremely small. You have to go through a separate assessment and selection. It's not easy. Then you have to get put on another team, typically in an ST unit at one of the 2 series units, and you have to perform, right? The only outlier to that is really, the 17th STS, which is a soft TACP position that isn't a 2 series unit. But I'll be honest with you, you have to perform at these things. You cannot be just the average person and just show up and work. So you are going to work for the Army as a TACP, as a tactical air control party airman. You are going to be assigned to a conventional Army unit, and you're going to be doing conventional close air support for those units.
Can we just? We also had a very angry TACPO that talked about this as well. So go back and watch a TACP officer yell at me on the TACPO podcast. But can we just stop with thinking the word conventional is somehow a negative? That really drives me nuts. Because
for sure.
This whole soft versus conventional thing, it's just a different job with different size teams doing different things. There's nothing wrong with being a conventional TACP. They deal with huge numbers of people that are their capabilities to, seek out the enemy and drop bombs and have a huge impact on the battle space is amazing. So it bothers me when people want to say conventional with kind of a little sneer on their face and make it sound like soft is somehow inherently better. It's different. Right. I get different.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at, it's easy to figure this out, right? It's easy to figure out, and we're not comparing the two, right? Because they're just kind of different tribes of the same family, right? But when people poo-poo the conventional force, people know pretty well I come from a very big military family. We have a big family, number one. I'm the oldest of 6, but all 4 of the boys, all 3 of my little brothers are in the Army as well. 2 of them are helicopter pilots now. Well, before that, my brother Brian was just a regular 11 Bravo infantry guy. He spent 36 months in Iraq between 2005 and 2008. That's just conventional. If you think that anybody in SOF got it on more than my brother, who was doing clearing operations day to day in the Tikrit Triangle, you're insane. So when people talk, conventional this and conventional that, you're going to get it on, especially in a large scale war. We don't know where we're going next. But when I hear strategic competition, near peer competition, that's a big shooting war. We hope it's a soft surgical war, and we use cyber to, get our, I don't want to get into a huge shooting war with Russia or China. But if we get into a huge shooting war with Russia or China, who do you think is going to be doing the more work? The conventional side or the soft side? Soft side is going to be doing probably more of the high risk work. Conventional side is going to be getting it on, though. That's why the Rangers are in that sweet spot where they are special operations, but really they're the premier direct action light infantry force in the United States Army. That's why they have more capture kills than any other organization on the face of the planet. And that's to include every, CAG and Dev Group and all these other tier 1 units.
How dare you? You're a Ranger lover. That's what
hey, listen, facts are facts, man. Shout out to Disaster. When he's right, he's right. That's all I got to say. You know what I mean? Like, facts is facts, man. They have more capture kills. Shout out to the Bat. They get it on, and there's nobody better than them. But that really what they're doing, those things are they special operations? Sure, because they're specially trained and equipped and deployed. But really, if you look at it, like that's a pretty direct action hit on a compound. You don't need special operations to do that. You need a really, really highly trained infantry force to do that. And if that highly trained infantry force from the 10th Mountain or the 82nd Airborne or the 101st happens to have a TACP with them to leverage air power, they're going to be inherently better. So I think that's TACP.
Yeah, I think we crushed it.
Got it. Yeah, thanks. That's good. It's always good when you rate yourself immediately when you're done. Be like, oh yeah, we crushed that one. Here's my favorite one, Trent.
Yeah.
What does SR really do? You've been vague about it. What do they really do? Please just tell us.
I don't think I've been vague about it. I really don't. People have this misconception, right? That like being a JTAC is this clear thing and that it's a simple process and that we tell everybody out there exactly how it works. They're like, oh, they just call in airstrikes and all this other stuff.
Here's your playbook.
Next time Peach is on here, I'm going to ask him to read the J-Fire out loud on the internet.
So that no one ever asks us what a combat controller does. This is frustrating too. Yeah, go.
He's not going to be, he's not going to read it for reasons. So after he can't read that, go ahead and be like, well, how come you can't tell us what JTACs do?
Right.
So like I tell you what I do, but I can't give you all the TTPs and all this other stuff.
Let's try this. So let's talk about what SR is not, right? Because sometimes it's helpful, and this is a good tip I got from one of my mentors. So it's important to say what things are, but sometimes it's actually important to say what they're not. Okay. So SR is not getting after some sort of recon mission, because people will be like, well, the Marines already have recon. We already have these recon teams. Yeah, we know. We're not doing that mission. SR is not doing a standalone mission of any type. Okay. SR works for the larger ST enterprise. And I had a long conversation. It was productive on my DMs the other day, but it was long because we had to get through a lot of misconceptions. So the question essentially started off with, well, why does SR work alone or in small teams when people like NSW and SWIC have this high camaraderie and this high brotherhood and they work on teams their whole time? And I literally was like, whoa, hold up, my guy. Who said that we... Right. Yeah. Who said that we don't operate like that? Why is it that you think that SR is just this Jason Bourne character in a ghillie suit out in the middle of nowhere? Like, that's not how we work. SR provides a reconnaissance capability to an already inherently capable Air Force team. So you have to remember, special tactics teams are ground maneuver elements that get after Air Force mission sets, right? Just like the SEALs get after Navy mission sets, right? The SEALs are there for maritime interdiction. That's what they're there to do. The Army Green Beret teams are task organized to get after irregular warfare and unconventional warfare in order to gain effects, typically with a guerrilla force. That's really what they're there to do, guys.
Yep.
The Air Force has our own mission sets. And what those mission sets are agile combat employment. We do soft seed, if you know what soft suppression of enemy air defenses are. We do global access. We do personnel recovery. There's a bunch of different core missions that we get after, to include all the other soft core missions, direct action, hostage rescue, irregular warfare, the 9/10 of soft, right? Go ahead.
So, I mean, it's just, as you say that, the soft components of every branch exist to support the conventional side of every branch for contingencies or when things go wrong or when there's specialized requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the Marines and the Rangers and all these other folks have recon folks doesn't mean that if the Air Force is like, hey, I have this requirement, I'm just going to task out the Rangers.
Right.
That's not necessarily how it works. And if you don't have a background in exactly what we're looking for and are not built and created to solve those problems, you may not be as successful as you could be. I'm not saying those guys couldn't do it. I'm just saying.
Right. Could they do it? Of course they could, because they shoot, move, communicate, and they lead, which we all do that, right? Could they assimilate to our teams and provide that capability for us? Yeah, but we saw a need that we were like, wait, we have a need for these capabilities. We have a need for somebody that can do these things. So that's why SAO-T was rebranded to SR.
Well, SAO-T was technically killed, and then SR was created.
I said rebranded because I was trying to be nice. But, the people that ask this question, it's almost like they're arguing themselves out of, they're like, oh my God, SR sounds so cool, but like, there's already all these other guys. Okay, well then go work for the Army. Then go work for the Navy. Go be a human, a human or a 35 Echo or Foxtrot, whatever they are in the Army. Go do that if you want to do that thing. But we have our own need for these capabilities, and that's why we put them on the teams, and we all work as a team. So, outside of that, I don't know what people are looking at when they ask, what does SR really do? I don't know if we can be any more clear than that.
And I'll tell you, if you think that you know what the RRD guys do, and you're not an RRD, like you
get
don't
out
know.
of here. You have no idea. Right. Yeah. Exactly. You're literally just guessing at stuff. And then you're looking at SR. And I love when the SR like hate flows after that, because it almost inevitably does. It's like, well, I mean, what you guys think you're the reconnaissance unit division, whatever they're called now? Oh, you guys think that you guys are force recon? No, we don't. We don't want to be. We're doing some of those same skill. Are we learning how to stalk? Are we learning how to do near and far reconnaissance? Sure. Are we leveraging any sort of technology in order to help us with this? Sure. Are we using drones? Sure. Do we look like we're doing what they do? Yes. Are we the same? No.
It's like when PJs are assigned to ODAs. You guys think you're 18 deltas now? Is that what you think?
No, I don't. And I don't want the med bag. And I'm not the team medic. That's not what I'm there to do.
Wait, but you guys are both medical. Then why do we need PJs and 18 deltas?
You guys are both special forces medics. And I guess we'll transition into this one off of SR. And, are PJs medics, or are they technical rescue specialists? Blah, blah, blah. Like, God, I don't care. If you want to call us special forces medics, like, and what's funny too is I've completely evolved on this. For a long time, I was one of those dudes like, hey, man, I'm not a medic, right? Because medic means, in the terminology and the history of the forces, right? You're a medic, you don't carry a gun. This is Hacksaw Ridge, and you're running around just treating people, and you're not a combatant. That's usually why the PJs are like, hey, no, listen, I'm not just a medic, right? Which is also a shot at medics by saying just. But at this point, whatever it is that you want to call me, okay, yeah, am I a SOCOM medic? Yep, I have completed not the long course, but I've completed all of the things I need to be called a SOCOM medic. By definition, PJs that work in AFSOC, as long as you're an ATP qualified medic, congratulations, you're a SOCOM qualified medic. That's me. Okay, great. You want to call me a medic that knows some ropes? Cool. You want to call me a technical rescue specialist, rope nerd, hippie that is somewhat okay at medicine, and, ranger medics and other people that like medicine is their only specialty. They're like, oh, well, we're better at, field medicine than you. Yeah, you're right. We're better at veterinary medicine than you. You're right, 18 Delta. You are, because I am not. That's not my lane, right? Mass casualties. We hang our hat on mass casualties. We handle mass casualties really, really well. Trauma medicine. We're good at trauma medicine. How good at trauma medicine? I guess we could have a meme war and figure it out. But the whole PJs or medics or technical rescue, it's another question that we get, quite frequently. Who's better, a ranger medic or a PJ? Well, a ranger medic's better at being a ranger, and they're also better probably at being a medic, because that's the only thing that they do. Ask every rank and file ranger at second bat right down the road here how good they are at free fall. I'm better at free fall than I'll say 100% of them, unless there's like some RRU guys that can outfly me. But I'll just go ahead and I'll say 99% to be fair. But those are two different things that we're comparing. I'm better at free fall because they haven't been to free fall school. So what are we talking about? It's different stuff.
Let me just put this out there. There's an individual component to this as well. And for all the true professionals in all of these career fields, if I put a ranger medic, an 18 Delta, and a pararescueman in a room and say they were like all E7s or E8s, do you think that they're just going to beat their chests and say, like if they're in a scenario, right? Like a mission scenario, they're probably going to pick each other's brains.
Yeah.
To learn more, because that's the name of the game, to see if this other guy has any has any more experiences or any tips or tricks that they like to use to put that in their toolbox.
Yep.
No one cares.
You almost did it. You almost had to put a dollar in the swear jar, Trent.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I'll say it. Nobody gives a shit. Like it's not a thing. Like I think people see, and again, like no shot to anybody doing anything. Get down how you get down. But people will see interactions in the comment section, or people will see interactions on certain pages, and they'll be like, "Oh, these guys are all just trying to beat each other all the time, and they're constantly talking shit." I mean, yeah, we are constantly talking smack with one another, but it's more self-deprecating than anything else. It's like, hey, I may be a terrible PJ, but at least I'm not a SEAL. Like that's a joke. That's a joke that we say to each other because we've earned it. And when people outside of the tribe see those things, they assume that there's this animosity or there's this competition. I got zero. And Ranger medics are some of the most accomplished and experienced medics in the world. I'll tell you what, if I got hurt and there was a Ranger medic from anywhere that came up and started working on me, I'd be like, okay, cool, because they have a great reputation. But also, if a PJ came up to me and started working on me, I'd be like, okay, thank God, cool. I wouldn't be like, well, I wish it was a Ranger medic because I've heard they're so good. That's ridiculous. But that's what everybody does.
Could you just go look back in the helicopter, see if you can find an 18 Delta for me?
Yeah, excuse me. This is more of this is more like a sit call sort of thing. So can you just go get out of here, guys? Get out of here.
If your combat control teammate ran up to you and started putting a tourniquet on you,
I would want that guy.
Heads up. They know also what they're doing in that situation.
And and
not to like the extent, right? But
right. Well, that was kind of an interesting question too. And I'll phrase this question like this. Well, if you're on a mission, like let's say I'm an SR guy and I'm on a mission that doesn't need any SR, what exactly am I going to do? Are you just going to leave me home? No, you're an operator. You're part of the team. You live and work and breathe and train with your STT, with your special tactics team, day in, day out, 24/7. Shooting schools, medicine, ropes. It's like I always tell this story, but in our pre-deployment last year when we were getting ready to go, actually it was in the summer of 2020. So in the summer of 2020, we went on a high angle trip and we had some full mission profiles at the end of it. We were doing an upgrade for the only staff sergeant pararescueman. He was going through one of his upgrades and he was being evaluated on overall team lead. We had a high angle scenario where there was a patient at the bottom. The medic that we sent down, the medic was a TACP guy. The people that built the system were controllers, and the people that were hauling the system up were special reconnaissance and controllers. There was not one PJ attached to that system. The TACP guy, there was the one PJ that we had that was the team leader. He was the only PJ, and it was a mixed team, a mixed STT, and there were no other PJs. I was evaluating and being a safety check for the system, and that was it. And we looked around and, my friend Jared and I think I've dropped his name a million times now, but Jared and I just laughed. We're like, hey, this is what a team is supposed to be able to do. So let's have them go do it. So, if they're, go ahead.
When firefights break out and you're with an ODA, only the Bravos shoot back. The rest of us just sit there and hang out like, ooh, I'm not a weapons sergeant. Yeah. All the Charlies are like, you need to blow anything up or build anything? No? Then, I'm just going to chill.
And I just feel if people would think about it for just a second, like, okay, so here's the deal, guys. Let's say that there was some super secret SR mission that was going to go on and we only needed SR. They were just going to go to a hide site. They were going to do some reconnaissance. They were going to get some information, be it electronic, visual, whatever, and they were going to bring it back. Do you think that you wouldn't bring a JTAC and a PJ with you as part of a team? Like, let's say you were going to get the smallest team possible and you had 4. Would you pick 4 SR guys to do that? Well, I'd probably want a medic if something like went south. And if it went really south, I'd probably want a JTAC too. So
sorry.
No, go ahead. I know you're excited.
No, I get all amped up. I'll tell you on my last rotation, do you know what we spent most of our time doing pre-deployment or arguing about is if we could get a PJ on our special tactics team. If and then we had a JTAC on our team, like, do we send our combat control JTAC? Where do we send them when we're doing split team ops and all this other stuff? To think that you have a capability and you don't want to bring that highly qualified, capable person with you. There are rare instances when maybe not, but if I can, I'm bringing I'm bringing max capability.
I'm bringing the house
to every
yeah.
situation.
Right. Because I want to be able to deal with that problem. I don't know what kind of contingencies are going to pop up. I will tell you the only time that I have ever even considered leaving someone behind, it's been in Afghanistan when it was no kidding. Like we were deciding, like, if we're too heavy, we're going to crash. So you need to get rid of some people or some equipment. And I have had to make the decision to be like, okay, you're not coming on this one, but it's only because like you'll kill us in the helicopter because you weigh too much.
Yeah. So I think we covered that one pretty well.
I think so.
We'll still get comments saying that we just rambled and didn't actually tell them anything.
Right. What does SR do? They don't do anything, guys. Quit asking. Maybe it's not for you. Yeah, I actually want to put out, I should put out like a really bad soundbite of exactly what SR isn't, and then put it out on a reel. That'll generate some some real talking.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on. So I got this one the other day, but we get it actually a lot, right? You guys are always asking about schools. So the question that we got the other day was, hey, can I go to sniper school as a special warfare officer? And it started my mind to sort of thinking, and it applies to a much wider base, right? So we get questions all the time. Hey, can I go to this really cool school? What if I go to language school as a PJ, or as an SR guy, can I go to this really cool one-off school? So I'll tell you the short answer is yes. If you have the time and the opportunity to go to a school and that school is open, I can tell you the world is your oyster. And now I'm going to give you the real talk. What you really need to be thinking of is, does it make any effing sense for you to go to that school? I get it. It's cool, right? And the question that we got the other day was, as a special warfare officer, can I go to sniper school? Let's think about that for 1 second. Trent, what's a special warfare officer do on the team?
They manage and lead.
They manage and lead. How well do you think that special warfare officer could manage and lead the team, the entire tactical problem set, responsible for success or failure of the mission? How well do you think that they could lead looking through a loophole 50 times power scope down a long rifle from 500 to 1,000 meters away?
So I'm split on this one, right?
Okay.
So obviously, for especially like my young special tactics officers and crows that are at the 2 series units, with the new 19 Zulu thing, now that we do technically fall underneath 19 Zulu as SR guys, do I want them to have that background, right? Just like you want your crows to have medical background, you want your STOs to have some ATC background. Sure. Do I want them to have that background? Yes, I do. Now, if you are a captain in charge of a team and you're pre-deployment and you decide to cut out to go to a sniper school,
right?
Right. It's all about timing and what else you already have in your toolbox, and how you prioritize that.
Right.
So,
and I will say, of course, I want them to have that experience, right? And the conversation I had in the DMs, again, it was surprisingly productive, because usually sometimes I don't have the most productive conversations. Trent and I were talking earlier on this podcast. I mentioned a conversation I was having with somebody. He goes, man, you just go to 11 right away. And I just laugh. I was like, I want to get to the end of this conversation. I don't want to guide somebody there sometimes. Sometimes it's just good to get the answer out in the open. I totally agree that you need to have, especially I'll equate it to crows going, I've had crows tell me, hey, I need to go to EMT basic in order for me to better understand what you do. No, you do not. No, you absolutely do not. You do not need to have an intimate understanding of medicine and terminology and the actual practical application of medical treatment in order for you to understand what your medics are doing on the ground. Do I think you need to be sensitized to it? Sure, because here's a great example. If I look at an officer and he goes, you need to be out of here in 10 minutes, and I look at him and I go, I have to do a thoracostomy on this guy or he's going to die, and the crow has no idea what that means, he's like, oh, okay, cool, 10 minutes. That does not take 10 minutes. Right. That's a very practical application and common sense place where during training, I can bring a crow in and I can go, all right, here's what a thoracostomy is. I have to access this dude's chest to get fluid or air out of there, and he's going to die if I don't do it. It's going to take me a while. I have to be as sterile as possible. Then we got to package him up, and I'm going to have to sedate him. There's going to be all these things, right? Does the officer need to know that? Yes. Do I need to send a STO to a 6 to 8 week sniper course to have them qualified on a gun that they're probably not going to carry, and having a certification they're probably never going to use? Probably not. You know what would be more worth my time? To put them on a long gun in an advanced shooting school like Rifles Only, which runs a great advanced shooting program, and let them be sensitized to what that is so that they can actually use that specific skill the best that they can as a special tactics officer. I think that's probably what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can get most of it through the train up. I'm just, if you have a 19 Zulu on casual status at some point and you want to go to these schools, like, man, get it all in when you can. But like once you're on team.
Right. And that's that time and opportunity that I kind of started with. Like, nobody's going to tell you no. We've got guys going to the 4 wins. We have these young STOs, and it's awesome to see. We got a batch of 3 levels. I haven't been around true 3 levels in a long time. I got a couple that I deployed with, but those guys didn't count. One of them was a cross trainee. He was a prior Navy diver. The other guy was just a talent. He was one of those guys that I was like, man, you could be an element leader right now. We just got to kill some time. But watching these true 3 levels and these true fresh out of the pipeline STOs, we brought LT Ziegler on. He's going to come on and talk about his time in the pipeline. It was an awesome podcast that we did down when we were in San Antonio. But watching them go through these schools, we got guys going to dive supervisor. We've got STOs going through advanced urban combat courses. We got them going through a whole lot, advanced survival schools. It's awesome. It's really, really good because the time and the opportunity is there and they're hungry to go get it. Just understand that might not be exactly what the team needs. So your cool school, to button this all up, your cool school may be really awesome. You may have time in your schedule. It just might not be what the team needs.
I think we're moving on to maybe my favorite question, except I'm kind of sad that Peaches isn't here for this.
Oh, okay.
Apparently we work at the Pentagon and make all kinds of decisions just on the One's Ready podcast.
All kinds of decisions. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I think the chief of staff calls us for advice. What are the controllers going to do now that GWOT is over and there are no more needs for JTACs?
Oh my God.
Aaron,
this question.
Yeah, you're still at a 2 series unit. Tell me.
It's killing me, man. And it's funny too, because I'll hear guys kind of, they don't moan and complain because I never say our guys do that. Let's say that they voice their concerns in a less than constructive manner sometimes. Right. And I go at them because I am who I am. Again, I think we've covered this. I go at them right away. They're like, oh, no, GWOT over. This thing's going to be, it's no more JTAC. Listen, guys, combat control getting into that JTAC game in the way that they did was part luck, part being in the right space at the right time, and part having a capability that was specific to an event. That's what happened. In the early 2000s, combat control, getting into that JTAC game and then doing as well as they did in GWOT, listen, it was awesome. Produced some of the most highly decorated people in the military, period. It really did. They really crushed it. However, that's not their primary mission set. The primary mission set is austere airfield seizure. That's what we are there to do. JTAC is an awesome certification / qualification that we get on the back end of it. And you're able to do some amazing things as a JTAC. And we need JTACs, right? The JTAC qualification is going nowhere. How much we use that JTAC qualification, though, is probably going to go somewhere. Because as we go away from this kinetic warfare, this isn't GWOT. We're not dropping bomb after bomb. I had a controller that I worked with. I think he's out now. MQ. He was a legend in England when I got there because he Winchestered 4 separate AC-130s in one firefight. And Winchester means he used all of their ammunition. So a 2-ship of AC-130s got overhead. He shot every single round on both of those birds. Then they yo-yoed and got a full up new ammunition load, came back to where he was. He was still in a firefight, and he used another 2 planes worth of ammunition, right? That was in one event. That's ridiculous. I don't think that's happened in, months, maybe a year now. I don't think that much ammunition. And he used that in one time, right? But that was in 2007 in Afghanistan. So, we are all gonna look extremely differently. Like if you just go back to inside combat rescue for pararescuemen. Everybody in the world after that Nat Geo special thought all we did was fly on helicopters and pick people up because Dust Off couldn't do it because they didn't have guns on their helicopters or something. That was the smallest part of our career field, and we stopped doing it. I was in Afghanistan where we no longer took Kazovac. I was on the last rotation that did it. I think I flew 4 Kazovac missions when I was at Bagram because no kidding, Dust Off couldn't fly. Like the weather wasn't good. We had better weather radar than they did, or they had a maintenance issue. We covered for them 4 times in a 5-month deployment. And that was the last time that I did CASEVAC. That was 2014. Right? Wow. Can we do it? Absolutely. Are we going to continue doing it in the future? Probably not. That's not really where pararescue is meant to be. If you look at what just happened in Africa, from the exact place that I was, there's a sick mariner from the UK off the coast, more than 150 miles out there. And the rescue unit got on board a CV-22 and was able to hoist down and then transload that guy. That is a complex mission set and a complex problem that only the PJs there could have figured out. And oh, by the way, they're around every single other special operations team on that continent, to include tier 1 units. And they got the call to go do that because they were most specifically task organized to do that. I think we're going to see a shift when we're talking about, well, what are the JTACs going to do now that GWOT's over? What are the PJs going to do on global access teams? What is SR going to do at all? We're all going to have to change and get back, just like we talked about the Green Berets earlier and unconventional warfare and irregular warfare being their primary mission set. I think we're all going to go back to kind of that primary mission set. On the ST side, we're really going to look at agile combat employment, global access, personnel recovery, special operations surgery really is our core skills and those core metals. Yeah,
but if I don't read about it in the news, did it really happen? It just sounds like you guys aren't doing anything. There's no reason. Why do we even have, ST units anymore if we ended all combat operations? Shouldn't we just shut them down until another GWOT kicks off?
That's my favorite
because that's what I'm familiar with.
I think my favorite, yesterday we had an award ceremony and we had a bunch of Air Force commendation medals that got put out for the guys, deservedly so for their deployments. And, reading some of the things that we did, not a single bomb dropped, not a single round fired in anger, right? Some of my guys out west responded to a mass casualty and did amazing work. They were such good medics. I know I'm not supposed to call PJ medics. They were such good medics on their first deployment, by the way, that not only did they save 10 lives, but 6 of those guys, they prevented their limbs from being amputated. That's a difference in how good we are. Anybody's good at trauma medicine. Anybody could do TCCC, but through their medical skill, by the way that they handled that patient through the entire time, the way that they handled the case on their own, by the way, they were able to prevent their limbs from being amputated. That's a big deal. That's where we're going. And just because people don't hear about it, it doesn't mean it isn't happening. It doesn't mean we're not focusing on it. It just means you didn't hear about it. That's why you want to get in soft, because you want to do things behind the curtain that are, no kidding, helping out in a larger national mission sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
mission accomplished.
Yeah, we did it. Let's see. This is my favorite one here. It's just because I think people need to understand, again, I almost want people to talk into their phone. I want them to pick their phone up and go like this. Here's my question. And then I want them to play it back for themselves. So here's how this would work. Let's have some pretend time. Record. Can you do me a favor? One's ready, and call some of your friends that live near me and ask them if they'll take time out of their busy schedule and deployment prep and their time as a special operator to talk to me specifically about questions that have already been answered and maybe work out with me, because I want to know what it's like to work out at PJ Gym. Thanks. End.
Joke's on you. I don't have any friends.
Yeah. Number one, joke's on you. I don't have that credibility with my friends, but we have people ask this all the time, and it's hard for me not to be, I don't know if there's a better way to say it, but a prick about it. Like, just think about what you're asking. So you want me to call, let's say that you live in San Antonio, and let's say you call me and you're like, hey, what would be awesome is if I could just show up to the schoolhouse and have, one of the PJs walk me through a day and, maybe smoke me a little bit, maybe have a whatever. And that's, by the way, that's a 100% real thing. That was almost word for word of a question that I got asked. And I had to stop and I'd be like, listen, you understand that these are people with their own lives that you're asking just out of nowhere. They don't know you from anything. You haven't even dropped your paperwork. You haven't even taken a pass test. You haven't even talked to a recruiter. You just want to see what it's like. So you want me to ask them to take time out of their day. And this is on my name. I have to call them and vouch for you and say, hey, this is important. Can you do this for me? And then depend on you to go do this thing.
Can you go meet with this stranger to do something and probably
because they sent me a DM on Instagram.
Yeah. Don't go home to your family this afternoon. I know you're only working like 12 to 18-hour shifts or whatever right now.
Yes.
Go ahead and go meet this person and then smoke them so that they can have that experience.
Sure, Aaron.
So they can make a decision.
Aaron, I'd love to do that. Is it because you think that they're the best candidate ever? Oh no, I've never met them before. They just asked me to hook you guys up.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy.
Right. I feel like if you just thought about it for a second, we would never have to answer that question again, because you would just be like, wow, that's actually a huge ask for somebody like me that's done literally nothing for this person or anybody. Maybe I should really think about what I'm asking. Anyway, you ready to hit some hot button issues?
I mean, I was just going to say, I run into that with people like, Trent, why are you avoiding coming to work out with me in San Antonio? It's like, A, San Antonio is a large city. And right. B, like I got a family and kids and my own job. And then, spoiler alert, I have friends that are not in the military that I like to go hang out with and do things and weekend activities. Like, why are you avoiding me? Like, because I don't know you, honestly. I don't really care.
That's the Trent that I know. I don't really care. All right, so we're gonna hit some hot button issues. You guys ask us these all the time, and they're valid questions, guys and gals. We get it. Okay, so we're gonna put them out there. We're gonna get them on wax. This is just my opinion. Again, we are doing this in our off time. We're not beholden to anybody. I don't represent the views of the DoD, the team I work with, or my professional, educational, military career in any sense, form, or fashion. I'm not meant to offend anybody. We're going to answer these questions, though, because hopefully we can stop asking them. Trent, what do you feel about women in combat? Do you think that there's a place for women on the teams?
First of all, I don't approach anything with feelings. That's stupid. Mm-hmm. And I don't care.
I don't care. I don't care at all. And it's not that I don't care. Like I'm saying that there's not a place for women on the teams, or I think they're going to be successful. It's that I really don't care. I am completely agnostic. Here's the deal. The combat exclusion after the women in service review was deleted. Women, they're open to every single job. I quote this from, I had a Navy SEAL, I think he was a 1-star at the time. I can't remember his name. Came to talk to us when it was 2015. It was right after the combat exclusion got essentially rescinded, and that all special operations jobs were open to anybody that wanted to apply. He sat in front of a whole bunch of SEALs, and at that time there was a lot of feelings, and people were like, "Oh, this is dumb." They were bringing up the dumb arguments for why women, oh, well, what about bears? Now we have to worry about bears. Get out of here, guys. The dumbest arguments got brought up for this, right? And the SEAL general that was in charge of all the West Coast essentially was like, "All right, cool." He let everybody gripe and moan, and there was no groping, gripe and moan and all of the, get it out of their system. And then finally he looked at everybody and he was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to say the same thing," because he was a Pacific Asian American, I think is the correct term, a Pacific Islander, Asian American. And he said straight up, "I don't care if you're black, bisexual, transsexual, or a woman. If you can meet our standard, you're on the team. And if you guys can't allow somebody to be on your team," he looked straight at, one of the African Americans in the room. He's like, "Have you ever been discriminated on this team because you're black?" And the guy immediately was like, "Well, absolutely not." So he's like, "Exactly. Then what is the difference with women? You can feel however you want to feel about it. And if there's data that suggests that they're not right for the job, they're going to work themselves out. And, it'll work themselves out in the process. But we do that through assessment selection. You don't do that from a team room where you decide who gets a chance to try. We give equal opportunity. That does not equal outcome. We give equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Everybody gets a chance to try. Everybody gets a chance to put their name on the line, to put their credibility on the table, and to go try this thing. And if you make it, you get in. I don't care who you are. I'm so sick of hearing this. Women in combat, I don't think they should be here for this reason. I don't care what you think. Grow up. Get on board. Like, you want to have that conversation? Can I borrow your time machine to go back 10 years where this actually mattered? Because I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's the standard. We care about the standard. And we really don't have, like you said, I'm more of a data-driven person.
Yep.
And could I project out potential problems. Yes.
Sure.
But to say that dudes don't have problems on team is also
Get out
stupid.
of here. Get
So,
out of here. Yeah, right.
I don't have any data to back up any viewpoint that I may or may not have. So it's not a real viewpoint.
Yeah. So you don't get to talk about it. I mean, maybe we have like, there are some fun ethical conversations to have, inside of the women in combat thing. And usually it revolves around, most likely, most often what happens when we have an operator that is a female that wants to start a family and she wants to have children. She's going to be out for an extended period of time, right? That affects readiness. It affects how many people we already have in critically manned career fields. It affects what job she can do. And, if she's deployable and all these other questions. So from a logistical standpoint, those are things that we need to look at. It's not prohibitive in any nature at all. So, and really, unless you're having some more of those high level conversations, I just don't even entertain it. So women in combat, guess what? I'm for it. Just like I'm for everybody else in combat, because I don't care. There's no exclusion. Congratulations. You want to volunteer and you want to go get it on, meet the standard.
Yeah. We need to keep the gingers out though.
Yeah. Well, listen, I didn't think that we were going to talk about this issue, but yes, we should keep the gingers out. There's only a couple gingers that I know. Shout out Culpepper. One of the best shooters I've ever known, but he's still a ginger. So he's got to go. Like he's just out.
You got no soul. You can't be trusted. It's science.
Yeah. If my haircut being too long directly affects how I work on target, like if my hair is too long and you can't trust me to get a haircut, and then that makes me a worse operator on target, which we've heard, I don't know how many times, then you can't possibly be a good operator and have no soul and be a ginger. So I'm going to call that one, should gingers be allowed in the military? And I'm going to make that its own chapter marker. No big deal. All right, let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about the vaccine mandate. The big question is, hey, I am 100% opposed to the vaccine mandate. I don't want to get a vaccine. I don't want to do this to get in. How are you guys feeling about it? Here's how I feel about it. I am anti-mandate with everything. Okay. That's just me as Aaron Love, speaking completely on my own and representing nobody else. I don't want you to mandate anything for me. That's literally for everything, because I'm an American and I have the Constitution of the United States of America. That's any mandate for anything, right? I always give pushback to any mandate until I feel that the authority is there. It's the only thing I'm going to say about anything. Here is the point. We all have to make decisions, and we all have to rank our decisions for what's right in our life and what we want to do. If your feelings about a shot are so great that you don't want to save lives and aid the injured, putting aside your own personal desires and comforts so that others may live and be a pararescueman, then that is your decision. And that's all I'll say. You have to make that decision for yourself. The situation is what the situation is. There's a mandate. You got to get it to stay in. You got to get it to come in, and you got to get it to be a part of this career field. You have to make your own decision. I won't even engage on what that decision looks like for you, because it's none of my business. Just like my decision is none of your business. I think that's as clean as I can make it, at least for me. How do you feel about it?
I had to get a flu shot yesterday, and I was pretty unhappy about it.
Right. I hate the flu shot. I hate getting the flu shot every single year. How many people are dying from the flu? What kind of readiness are we protecting from? Didn't the flu disappear? Didn't we go from like 34 million cases of the flu to like 1,800 in a given year? This is the second time that we're broaching conspiracy theories. This is pretty good. Definitely going to get demonetized for this. But hey, I'll tell you, you have to make a choice for it, right? You have to choose what is right for you and your life. And I support that choice, whatever it is. But I'll tell you, and this is a simple philosophical truism. Two things can be true at the same time. I can be vehemently anti-mandate for everything, and I can still accept things that are mandated to me because I view it to be necessary to do something greater. I view this mandate as something that has to be accepted, one, because it's in valid rule of law right now in the military, and number two, it is part of me being a pararescueman. It's the only thing I can say. Are we good? Do we have to talk about it anymore, Trent? Do you think we covered it on that one?
I'm not here to make choices for other people. So I don't know, like, how do you feel about it? My feelings are irrelevant to how we get the choices that you should be making for yourself. If you're waiting on me to make a decision for you, you are in a very bad place in your
Very
life.
bad place. And I won't do it. And I won't do it. And this kind of bridges into another one that we get all the time. People will ask us very specific questions about waivers or medical problems. We've never answered one of those. Not one time.
No, if you have a bilateral fracture to your tibia from 10 years ago, or tibias, then yeah, you can absolutely join.
I don't know. It's
obviously
just such
right.
It's such a weird thing. It's like, I failed this depth perception / whatever, how do I submit a waiver? Like, I don't know, my dude. Number one, I'm not here to give you medical advice ever. And then number two, I don't know those things. You're going to have to work with your docs, through MEPS, your recruiter, all of these things. I had surgery. My favorite one is I had surgery 8 years ago on my shoulder. I don't have any hardware, but I'm thinking about not telling my recruiter because I don't want to get disqualified at MEPS. I can tell you the number one way to get disqualified: not tell anybody about it and have them find out on their own, and then you'll be kicked out.
I'm all about it. They should definitely do that.
Don't do that.
I'm obviously kidding.
I don't know why I'm the voice of reason right now, but don't do that.
These questions got me a little grumpy, you know what I mean?
That's the point. We're going to get it off our chest. We're going to put it on the YouTube. We're going to give everybody the chance to find this. And now we can look at it. We can go episode, whatever this is, just go. Your question is here. Check it out. So kind of further down that line, and I like this one a lot. Hey, I'm 16 years old and I've wanted to be a PJ my entire life, and I'm ready to start training, at 16 years old to go do this thing. What do I need to do? First of all, go be in high school. That's it. That's what you should do. You should go to high school. You should get good grades. You should get yourself into some good trouble, not like trouble with the law, but get yourself in some good trouble.
Don't stand up for the man.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Don't stand up for the man. Get yourself in some good trouble. Get some life experience under your belt, and then see where you are when it's time. These career fields, these things, we're going nowhere. We're going to be here in 2 years. If you're spending, and hopefully you have a long career, hopefully you have 20 years plus, right? But you should live a full life where you are now. Be present in your area now, as opposed to looking at something, 5 years. I think we got a message from a 14-year-old one time that was like, hey, I want to start preparing for this now. What do I need to do? And I was like, holy cow, guy, you need to figure out what you're going to do as a freshman. You need to figure out when you're getting your driver's permit. You need to figure out, how to interact with girls in a manner that's consistent and like, so that you're being a good dude. Like, there are so many other, you just need to be a person first. Like, figure out who you are. Your brain is not fully formed until you're 25. So it always blows my mind when I hear people ask me, hey, I want to make this choice for the rest of my life now. If you knew how much I changed between 18, 25, 35, and now, over 40.
You're over 40?
Shut up. Got it. If just looking back at like how much I changed, holy crap, man. I can't be making decisions for future me at that point. Like, the decisions that I wanted to make for myself at 18, I look back at now and I'm like, thank God that I had mentors and people to tell me I was stupid, and some time to really figure that out.
I would say, like, the only thing is you need to worry about is stay out of jail and keep a clean record, right? If you want to come in and have a top secret clearance or whatever, don't, when people offer you heroin at the party, say no, I guess.
Right.
It's a pretty
Just
good
say
idea.
no.
Just basic life advice.
That worked out so well too.
Yeah. That campaign
just
really.
say no thing.
Yeah. We saw a precipitous drop in drug use.
Trent, I'm 35 years old. Is it too old to get in?
Yes.
And do this? Oh my God. You know what? Just yes.
Wait, but no. But yes.
But no. So guys and gals, the age limit's 39. I'm going to say that again. The age limit is 39.
Yeah, but I'm 35.
Okay, but I want you to listen, Trent. Is 35 less than or more than 39?
I'll tell you, as a 39-year-old sitting here, I don't think that it's impossible for someone to make it through the pipeline at 39.
I don't think it is either. Would it suck? Yeah. Are you too old? I don't know. That's a question on you. When we get in, I always love it when it's like, hey, I'm 27 years old and I'm not in the best shape. Is that enough time? Are you joking? I went through the pipeline at 25, 26. I had 2 toddlers. I was I was, granted, not really that old. 25 is not really that old. 27 is not that old. Looking at it now, I was having a joke with one of my PJ friends. I don't feel 40 inside of my head. I honestly feel 25, 30. And in the best shape of my life, the best shape of my life that I've gotten into has been later in life. I'm better at jiu-jitsu now. I'm in better shape now. I'm, doing those things. Then, of course, in the pipeline, you're going to be in the best shape of your life because all you're doing is working out. All you're doing is doing high stress stuff all the time, right?
It's different shape for different people though at different times. You know what I mean? Like if I got in a fight with 25-year-old me that could run 6-minute miles or whatever,
right?
I mean, I would whoop that dude.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I was laughing. I little tangent. I rolled with a dude the other night that is probably a D2 level wrestler. So he's a D2 level. He's like 23, 24. He just absolutely destroyed me. He's just way better at wrestling. But he was laughing because he got done. We got done and he was just like, "Oh, that's cool, man." He was like, you're pretty cool for, he said something in fact, like, "You're pretty cool for one of the older dudes here." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, maybe 10 years ago I'd have something for you, but yeah, 40-year-old Aaron doesn't. He goes, "Holy crap, you're 40. I thought you were in your 20s. And I was like, "Well, you're adorable. You're also bad at judging age." And he was just like, "No." He was like,
so
"Yeah,
nice when they do."
It is. It was nice of him. And really the only reason I did that is to put that out on the podcast to make everybody know how cool I am. Moisturize and drink your water, folks. You can look like me when you're old. But that's the point. When people ask me, "How old are you?" I'm out here grinding with 23-year-old Division II wrestlers 4 nights a week. You can do whatever you want. It's just what's important to you. And oh, by the way, it doesn't matter if you're tall or short, or if you start off fat, or if you start off completely out of shape, or if you got some weird injury. David Goggins failed as a PJ, got to be a TACP, and got to be eventually in the SEALs. And now he's who David Goggins is. That dude started off like 300 pounds. That dude started off like 275 pounds.
Yeah, and so, he's still annoying.
Yeah, he is. But the point is, like, Jocko, go throw a battery into the ocean and get this thing started. But the point is nobody, it doesn't matter. I always answer the question the same way. Am I too tall, short, fat, old? Have you ever seen anybody like me make it? Who cares? Who cares if I've seen that? That doesn't matter at all. I don't care if you're 5'4". I don't care if you're a female. I don't care if you're 35 and you start this process. Who cares if I've ever seen that succeed? You could be the one that succeeds. The question is about, hey, are you going to do it? Are you too old? I don't know.
Yeah, I think what we're saying here is, we started this podcast to get the relevant information out there for these career fields, right? Because there was a lack of that in the interwebs, at least accurate and relevant information.
Yeah.
But I think there's a character trait that is fairly pervasive in the community, and that's just not caring about what most people think.
Yeah.
So I care about what Aaron thinks. I care about what guys inside the community think about me, right? Like, I care about my reputation. Like, there's definitely little things that I just don't care about. But
right,
man, like, if you're caring about all these other things or things that you don't even know that people think about, like, if you don't have that like inner confidence and drive and desire, like, what's more important than that? Nothing. Right. Nothing is more important than that. So just get out there and do it.
We need people that can do impossible things. And we're going to close it up here because that was all the questions we wanted to get after. But I'll tell you, from running one of the enlisted pararescue assessment and selections that we used to do for cross trainees, there were times where I would sit the candidates down and I would say, "Listen, we need people that do not care what's possible. And here's why. If I tell you as part of a special tactics team that you have to cross an open courtyard where somebody's going to be throwing hand grenades at you to the point where you can see them throwing these World War II hand grenades at you, and you and your battle buddy that you're next to, you're taking turns who's trying to cover the other person with their body so they don't get killed. That's the situation that we're going to put you in, and we're going to ask you to win in that situation." That's a real story. That's Chief Master Sergeant Ivan Ruiz's Silver Star story. People throwing hand grenades, like bangers, like old school potato masher sort of hand grenades across the courtyard while they engage with small arms from less than 15 meters away. They did that for like an hour to close across this courtyard. He saved like little kids, this whole thing. If you look at that, if I told you like, "Hey, what would you do in this scenario?" That you'd probably be like, "Well, that's impossible." Guess who didn't care that it was impossible in the moment? Chief Master Sergeant Ivan Ruiz. We need those people that don't care if they think they're too old. Like, why are you asking? I can tell you, you're already starting off at square -1. Hey, Aaron, am I too old to do this? I can tell you by you answering, or you even asking the question, you're already starting off in a bad spot. I don't care. How about this? How about I know I might be too old, but I don't care. I'm going to succeed. That's probably a better way to do it. The age limit's 39. We don't care if you're a woman. Come on the team. We don't care if you are too old or too blonde or you don't have the perfect attributes. We want to train you. We don't care if you come in and you're not ready to graduate on day one. That's not the point. We want you to fix your own problems. That's the whole point of this podcast. We want to get you the information that you need to fix your own problems and to really be a productive member of this ST community, because we really care. And that's the whole reason why we started the podcast. So for all of these questions, do your own research. Here, we spoon fed you this one time. The two grumpiest dudes on the podcast, Trent and Aaron, we walked you through every single question that you could possibly have, from how do I find a recruiter, all the way through what's the day-to-day like, all the way through what can I do for cool schools. We got it. So we're never going to have to answer these questions again. Trent, what's the over under on us answering these questions?
Yeah, these questions are not going to stop.
They're never going to stop. But you know what? We're here.
We tried. We're good triers.
We are good triers, and we're here for it, because guess what? We're never going to stop either, because that's the point. So we want to say thanks, you guys. This is a long one with Trent and I. It's sort of the Aaron and Trent show, but we're going to put it out like a normal podcast because it's important. It's important for you guys to get this information. Go to the YouTube, check out the chapter markers. You're going to be able to go through every single question that we put out there, and I will make sure that it gets out there. Trent, you got anything for everybody else?
No, as always, appreciate it. And go contact your recruiter and download DuckDuckGo so that you're not trackable.
So you're not trackable, so you can protect that online identity.
Yeah.
As always, we thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see you next time that we drop here. Remember, we drop on Saturdays. Hit up any player that you can get your podcast at. Subscribe, hit the notification button. Just finesse the bell a little bit. Just finesse it so you don't miss anything that we post. And we often post the stuff early on the YouTube, so keep your eyes out. As always, thanks. We appreciate you. Earn each breath. Train hard. Have a good one.
Later.
See you next time.